All right.
What's up?
This is the first episode of the Broadway Joel podcast. And Jose, before I introduce you or anything, me and you, we built a great relationship, just based off, our phone conversations, and we linked up a few times. And I definitely wanted you to be the first one, so wherever this goes, you can say you were the first one to be on the Broadway Joel podcast. And I think you are a good get as a guest because you are I want to say you are the most boxing history knowledgeable person in my phone book. And I know a lot of people in boxing, and you're an accomplished author, wrote Black Ink, New York City's greatest fighters. You got a couple books coming up. We'll get into that in the conversation. Yeah, man, thank you for being here, man. I appreciate you.
No problem. Don't mention it. Don't mind being the guinea pig.
Nah, no guinea pig. Don't worry about it. I want to get into who you are first before we get into your accomplishments. So, you originally from Sunset, Brooklyn, born and raised?
No, I wasn't from Sunset, but I was born in Brooklyn, raised in Brooklyn. Sunset just so happened to be the closest gym. That's why I was always there. I mean, it's a walking distance away, but I didn't actually grow up in Sunset Park.
What part of Brooklyn you from?
Well, some people call it Kensington, some people call it Flatbush.
Okay. All right. And you half Puerto Rican, half Guatemalan, right?
Correct.
All right. Which one of your parents is Puerto Rican?
Father's Puerto Rican.
And your mother's Guatemalan. How did they meet?
They met in Brooklyn. Yeah, my mom was living here since she was like right out of high school.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Yep.
And what did they do for a living?
My pops was a repairman.
Okay. My
mom was a teacher for a little while, but then she stopped working towards the end when we were born.
Okay.
And she's just a stay-at-home mom.
All right. So you had a stable home, nothing crazy, nothing.
I mean, it was stable enough. I mean, my pops died when we were young, so that kind of threw everything off.
Okay.
But we had somebody to answer to when we got home, so we couldn't get too wild out in the streets because word got back right away. Sometimes before you even got home, everyone would know.
What age did you? What 16. Age were you? You were 16 when your father passed away.
High school. Yep.
Okay. How tough was that?
I don't think you ever get over it.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I don't think you ever get over it. You learn to move on, but there's always going to be something missing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. You grew up close to where Teofimo's dad is from.
I knew him back in the 80s. Yes, I did.
Tell me about Teofimo's dad and what did you know about him? What was his reputation?
So he was in Sunset Gym. The main guy was a guy named Ramon, and he had like the keys to the place. So whenever he couldn't make it, Teofimo's father was like his right hand man, his backup. So he kind of was like the co-manager, I guess, of the gym.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it trip you out? Like somebody you knew from back in the days is now the father?
I'm very happy for him, man. I'm very proud for him because I've seen him really teetering on that bad side. And he did what he had to do, right? He did his time and all that. But now he looks like a, upstanding citizen in a way,
Yeah.
So I'm glad he, it was good to see him, man. When I first started seeing him on TV and I heard that voice,
it was
I was like, oh, that's this guy from the gym. Because remember, I was young back then. I was like a teenager. He's about, I don't know how much older he is than me. But I was a teenager. He was like a grown man, let's say. He was like probably only like 25. But
yeah.
But I remembered him because I seen him like almost every day for like 2 or 3 years.
That's interesting.
And then I didn't see him no more. Well, I've seen him a few times, like in the neighborhood. But then all of a sudden when his son blew up, I saw him all over again. And it's good. It's good when you see somebody from the neighborhood make it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, I could definitely picture that.
I was happy to see Paulie Malignaggi too, because I knew Paulie since he was a teenager.
Really? You did?
I remember him coming to the gym all the time, and nobody wanted to lose to the white guy in the gym. So Paulie used to get some real, real hard sparring matches. So Paulie made it. He's another guy that made it. I remember him, he was living with a Puerto Rican family, Willie Badillo, for a while, because his family, he was in and out of home. That's where I think he learned his Spanish, because Paulie's fluent in Spanish.
No, yeah, I know. Wow, I didn't know that story, that he so what, he wasn't living with his parents? And
he was staying with Willie a lot, though, so...
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. What do you make of Paulie as to who he is today? He's gotten caught up in some controversies.
Yeah, I mean, he's a little loose with the lips, and it's funny because that's what kind of, after his boxing was over, that's what made him famous. Speaking his mind.
Yeah.
And now he says some things that offended a lot of people, and I was a little surprised to hear some of the things he said. I always thought he was all right, though. I never felt anything controversial about him in all the years I know him. And I don't know. I mean, whatever, man, it happened the way it happened. Sometimes people are only interested in your boxing views, and you just got to leave it to that sometimes.
Yeah. And when he made those comments on Devin Haney, which ultimately cost him his job at Showtime, I was a bit confused as to why he chose that hill to die on. I felt like all he had to do was do an apology to the people who were offended, and I don't understand how he didn't see how somebody could be offended by his
No, I think he did see. I think he was about to. I mean, he didn't feel that he said anything horribly wrong, right? Number one, but he was about to work something out. But then people from higher up started getting involved, and then it became. I don't even know if anyone ever knows whose decision it was finally. At the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, that came and went. So
he's a great commentator, though.
He is. Great commentator.
He's a great commentator. He's got a real good eye for the game.
Yeah, no, and he always brings a different perspective that, sometimes I know boxing. Sometimes I'm like, damn, I ain't even look at it from that perspective.
No, he's got a good eye. He can see things like from all four, 3-dimensional. He can see things. So he's a good. He's a good talker.
He's a real New Yorker. He's a good talker.
He's a good guy to have behind the mic. I don't know. Well, he's doing something. He's doing pro box, I think.
Yeah, he's doing pro box. He's still in the boxing world.
Yeah.
He's still in the boxing world. So,
Yeah, Zab Judah's another one. I remember Zab Judah when he was like 10 years old, 12 years old.
Yeah.
His pops was a scary guy, though. His pops had that neighborhood shook.
Yeah?
His father was a kickboxing champ.
That I knew. His father, he opened up a gym in East New York.
Yeah, some Mother Gaston Boulevard or something.
It was on New Jersey.
Over there, okay.
In East New York, yeah. And I remember my brother went over there for sparring. My brother was training for the Golden Gloves.
Okay.
And he sparred 3 rounds with one dude, and then there was a heavyweight there. He had his my brother was a heavyweight too. He had his gear on, his sparring gear on, and he was like, my brother had already just sparred, and he was like, yo, the big man won't work. So he started sparring my brother. The guy went through an overhand. My brother jumped back, and the guy dislocated his shoulder while swinging and missing and fell to the ground. Really? Yeah. So that I anytime people bring up Zab Judah's father, that story, well, I was there. That moment, I remember.
The father was there too that day?
I'm pretty sure he was there. This was like 15 years ago. So, but I'm pretty sure he was. It was his gym though. It was Joel Judah's gym. But I wanted to ask you, how did you get into boxing as a fan?
I don't know, man. It was just always around, Ever since I was young, like, I don't know if you know, but Muhammad Ali used to have a cartoon, right? So you're just watching Saturday TV. It was like Spider-Man, Batman, Muhammad Ali, right? So it was always just around. So my older brother used to box too. That's probably how I kind of more got into it. Mm-hmm. And he took me to the gym a few times. And, I met a lot of fighters. I was like 6, 7 years old, and I'm talking to, as much as a 6-year-old could talk to these guys, right? I'm talking to like Villamar Fernandez, Jose Resto. I don't even remember who else we were meeting in the gyms. Carmelo Negron, all these guys. And I was watching them train, and I spent many afternoons in the gym.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And before we get into your boxing career, your brother was a boxer.
He was an amateur
boxer, and you wrote a great story about the time he fought Juan Laporte. And was he stopped?
Nah, he didn't get stopped.
So he lost by decision, and the kids in the neighborhood was teasing your brother.
Because they're stupid. That's why they were teasing him.
Can you get into that story?
So Juan, they used to have this tournament called the Spanish Gloves. Mm-hmm. And Spanish Gloves was exactly like the Golden Gloves. But the Golden Gloves was sponsored by the Daily News, and the Spanish Gloves was sponsored by El Diario. And that's the only reason why they call it the Spanish Gloves, because of the Spanish newspaper. And they would do it like August, and the Golden Gloves was like January. And they fought one night, and it was like an afternoon. And Lepore won the decision, and nobody knows nothing. There was no YouTube, no TV, right? So all they know is my brother had a couple scuff marks on his face, and he had lost the decision. And they just you know how kids are, right? So, but one day, Lepore showed up around the block because he just lived on the other side of the Project Park. He was on by Pratt Institute,
by the college. What was it?
With you know where it is, like on Fulton DeKalb around there.
Okay, all right, yeah.
So that's where he lived.
All right,
by Classen Avenue around there. So he just came over one time, right? And he wanted to ask my brother to spar, right? Because, you know, you can never have enough sparring, right?
Yeah. Looking for work.
Yeah, and the guys were out there, yo, this your daddy, you know, dumb shit like that, right? And Lepore told him, no, it was a good fight, man. He almost won. And that kind of like, to me, was always, like for Lepore, it probably meant nothing. But to me, that was the first time that I've ever seen, like, in person what a role model could be. Mm-hmm. Right?
Wow, that's interesting.
So, and then like 2-3 years later, Lepore's fighting Salvador Sanchez on TV. So I started rooting for him always after that. I always wished the best for him. And even in later years when I went to the gyms, and it was funny too, because when I was in high school, I was classmates with his cousin. So whenever I would go hang out with the cousin, I would bump into him a lot. And I told him a few times about the story. He didn't really remember all the details, right? So where was I going with this? With Lepore? Oh, yeah. So even when we went to the gym, there used to be pros that would train, and if you were like a nobody, right, they would like push you off the bags, and they'd be like, yo, he's coming. He's a pro. He's doing 10 rounds or whatever, right?
Yeah, I know.
Lepore never did that. He would wait for you, no matter you're 8 years old, 4 years old, whatever. He got online, and I always thought that was kind of
admirable,
kind of noble about him. Exactly, yeah.
That's dope, man.
Yeah.
Yo, when you think back in that moment, and I'm from New York just like you know, your block is your block. Thinking back, like, damn, Juan Laporte came to my block.
Yeah, but they didn't know who it was, though.
I'm saying for you, how, looking back at that moment, how crazy is that as a boxing fan?
I guess it is a little crazy. Yeah, I mean, I got used to seeing him over the years, though, but I guess in a way it is kind of cool.
It's cool,
yeah,
right? Yeah. In that story that I'm talking about, that you wrote about your brother, in the end, you spoke about him playing with needles.
They just started messing around with those stupid people. That's all, and do stupid things sometimes.
Yeah. What ended up happening to him?
Well, he passed away. I was 19 when he passed away.
Damn.
Yeah.
So you lost your father at 16 and your brother at 19.
Exactly. 2.5 brutal years.
Wow.
Yeah.
What did that do to your mental, man?
Yeah, man. I don't even know, man. But it does a lot, though. But it lets you know. It does a couple things. It lets you know things end overnight, right? It also kind of, I don't know if it hardens you in a way. Like I don't know. I can't say what. I lived it, so I can't compare it to nothing else. That's just what I had to deal with.
Okay.
So I don't really know how to unrelate to it, Just like...
I got you. And you had a boxing career yourself, and you actually went pro and had a few pro fights. Can you talk to me about your amateur career as well as how your pro career went?
My amateur career was just a couple of fights. And then I remember there's a guy in the gym named Neil, guy with white hair, real smart guy, but not the greatest trainer, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. And he said, if you spar 100 rounds, I could get you a 4-round fight. And at the time, it sounded like a good deal to me because I was fighting 3-rounders for nothing. And here, I could get $360 or something for a 4-rounder, right? Because that's what they were paying back then, $80 a round. So I said, okay. And I ended up having like a dozen fights, but there was like no direction, no like managing or anything like that.
Okay. What was your record?
Like 14-2 or something, 14-3.
Oh, okay. You ever get the sense like, damn, looking back, had this went the right way, or you okay with how things turned out?
Well, I mean, I got no choice but to be okay with it. But yeah, you always got to think like, what if, right? There's a bunch of what ifs. You just can't let that sit on your head too much, though. You got to keep moving.
For sure.
It ain't always green on the other side.
Nah, 100%. So,
I'll tell you what messed me up, though, I think. First of all, I'm not claiming that I was ever talented enough to make it to the top, right? That we don't know.
Yeah.
Right? I knew how to hold my hands. I knew how to throw some punches, right? But on a world-class level, I never got to test it. Well, a little bit. Because I did fight one or two guys that were in the top 20, right? So I kind of tested it. But I remember one guy I met, an old former fighter, was the number one contender, Tony Pallone. Mm-hmm. And Pallone had like 100 fights, main events at the Garden, all of this, right? And when I met him, I remember he said, yeah, everybody wants to be a fighter, but do you want to be an ex-fighter? And that kind of messed up my head a little bit because now I started thinking there's a big price you pay fighting. And I could never get that out of my head. So I don't know if that messed me up or maybe he did me a favor. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. I mean, you an accomplished author, so your brains are still intact.
My brain, I was losing it on the train coming over here, though. So
we'll get into that. We'll get into that later. After your boxing career, you became a salsa singer? What was
Nah, I wasn't salsa. Okay. It was 3 songs. And what we were trying to do was like a salsa rap.
Okay.
But at the time, nobody knew what the hell it was. And it really wasn't working. And then like 2-3 years later, Proyecto Uno started coming out with something. And we were like, we should have went that route.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they did more like a merengue hip hop. And we just came, it was a little, I don't want to say we're ahead of our time because we weren't as good as them. But we went on to something there, and it just didn't work out that way. Yeah, but we performed at a couple of parades.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we did the Puerto Rican Day parade too. We was on a float.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. All right, so you got something out of it. I mean, that's an experience.
Yeah, it was a couple of clubs we performed at. Yeah.
How was that? How was that?
It was cool, man. It was cool. You know, you meet a couple of people. I met Mark Anthony. I met Tito Nieves. Right, so it was nice hanging with them. That's a little bit. Yeah,
that's dope. Well, what did you date this famous singer?
I told you that.
Yes. Man. You need to tell that story,
man. I'm gonna tell it, but without saying her name.
We gotta say the name.
I can say her name.
All right, yeah.
Because she's married now, and I don't want to.
Okay, let's not disrespect. Let's not disrespect.
Freestyle singer. Mm-hmm. I met her at a bar. There used to be a bar called Le Bar Bat, and I didn't know who she was, right? Because this was before cell phones, before internet. The only way you knew somebody was if you saw the music video or if you bought their album, right? I knew her music, though. And we started talking. We exchanged numbers. I saw her one time. I was still living at home. And
how old are you, by the way?
Like 23.
Okay.
And then she called one time. And remember, we didn't have cell phones back then. It was the phone in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And my mom beat me to the phone, right? And she was like, "You live with your mom?" And that was the last I ever seen her. That's
funny. How did you get into writing?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah. Did you go to school for it?
I did go to school for journalism.
Okay.
I did work for a little while on a local newspaper.
Where did you go to school?
In Kingsborough.
Brooklyn College. Yeah, okay.
They had a journalism program.
All right.
I didn't finish it, though. I was not a good college student. I hate to say that. I mean, I was good with grades, but I didn't know. All right, since we're opening up here, like one time I had to do a presentation in class, and I didn't know that the students were going to start grilling you, right? Asking you questions, right?
Okay.
So there's one particular guy kept grilling me, right? And I'm looking at him like, yo, that's the teacher's job, right? It's not your job, right? Yeah. So I like kind of stepped to him after class, like cornered him on the wall. I was like, yo, what are you doing? You trying to make me look bad? And he didn't, like, I wasn't letting him get to his class, right? And then I had to like check myself. I was like, all right, you know what? I'm not supposed to be acting like this in school. Right? So I don't know that I don't know that I had the right patience at the time for school.
Okay.
I think I had low-key had some ADD. Is it ADD or ADHD?
There's ADD, there's ADHD.
So then I worked for a little while doing, there was a cool little job. They didn't pay a lot though. So they gave you a beeper. And you just rode around a certain neighborhood and tried to find news. And if they found news, they would beep you. There's a fire in such and such place or crime. And then you would report. Yeah. So that was all right. But they didn't pay a lot, though. I did that for a little while. And then I just left it. until the internet came out. And once I came across Amazon and eBay, and I started finding all these books that you couldn't buy before, right?
Yeah.
Unless it was
you didn't even know existed, some of these
right,
books.
or if it was at your bookstore, you could buy it. If it wasn't, there's no way to know that book was existing.
Yeah.
And then I started noticing some boxing books, and there was like a series of books like Chicago, Philadelphia, other cities. And I noticed they didn't do one for New York, so I felt New York should have one, and I just jumped right into it, man. I just wrote that book, and the rest just started getting reached out by a couple people. Could you do this? Could you do that? You want to write? And it just took off from there.
Oh, that. Where did you get your writing style? Because I feel like your writing style, it's almost insulting to just call it writing. It's almost like you decorate the paper with words.
Interesting.
It's kind of like...
I don't know, maybe from songwriting. Maybe
you think so?
Maybe from being, because I'm not... So when you do lyrics for a song, you got a lot to tell with just sentences.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
I think you also, as a songwriter, and I'm not saying I'm like a songwriter, but I practice it.
Yeah, you've done it before.
You got to make it entertaining or informative. I feel like if your writing is not informative or entertaining, why even bother?
Yeah, I feel like your anytime I read anything of yours, I learn something.
Okay.
And it's very, very well researched. Where did you learn that? Did you learn
just
that?
walking down the street, man,
Yeah.
just absorbing everything over the years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
There's places to go research. If you really want to find something out, you do your diligence.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And if you don't find enough research, maybe don't write about it.
Okay. All right. So the books you've written New York City's Greatest Boxers, Black Ink, and 3 Deaths of
That one?
Tecún Uman.
Tecún Uman is a national hero in Guatemala.
Okay.
And so he's the guy who fought the conquistadors, right?
Oh, interesting.
He was the general of that famous battle. But some people question whether or not he was real or not. So the story, Guatemala has this book that was written. It's called the Popol Vuh. It's supposed to be like documenting the history. But in there, the way they describe the death scene of the battle, they're saying he turned into a bird and flew away. So unless there was something supernatural going on that day, I doubt that's how he died, right? So I wrote that quick little story there with 2 other possible theories of how he might have died.
Okay. There? Do you have an opinion as to how he died, or you?
I think he was shot.
Think he was shot.
Yeah.
All right.
So they're saying that he got stabbed, but some people saying they don't know who stabbed him. Right. So I believe he was shot though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But because one of the stories I read, they said that it sounded like the sound of thunder clapping through the. Yeah.
Why was he considered such a hero in Guatemala?
Because he wouldn't give up, and he took his troops. He was maybe 500 strong, and they were going up against the conquistadors who were coming down. Remember, the conquistadors took over Mexico first. They toppled the Aztecs, and they were forcing some of the Aztecs to be their soldiers. So when they came down, they were coming down like 15,000 deep. And he met them head on. He didn't surrender. A lot of people were surrendering. And not only did he meet them head on, but he did something most generals don't do, at least not anymore. He was at the front, and he was meeting them head on, and he just wouldn't give up. And according to some of the local legends, he took down a lot of the Spaniards.
That's definitely
it's like the ultimate warrior.
Something to look into.
Yeah.
Yep. How cool was that, writing that book? I know you're...
It was a little short book, man. I wouldn't even call it a book, actually.
Oh, okay.
It's like an essay, let's say.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. You have the book Black Ink, and man, what a find that was. It's about Panama Al Brown, the first Latin American boxing world champion, as well as the first gay boxing champion.
I don't know if he was the first gay champion.
Well, the first one openly gay, is that?
No, I don't know who was gay before him, but he was definitely openly gay, though.
Okay.
I don't know. Right. They might have been someone else, in the back before him. I remember when I was younger, the old timers used to say Stanley Ketchel used to dress in drag, I don't know if he was gay though, right? But they said that he used to dress like a woman sometimes, right?
Wow.
So I don't know. I mean, that's just what they said. I can't prove it or not prove it. But John Cocteau, who was Panama Brown's partner, he wrote a lot about him and Al Brown. So it's pretty much well known. That's pretty much out in the open.
Okay. Can you tell me about the book? Tell me more or less to get the fans excited why they should read this book.
Man, they should read it because he went through so much, and I guess you could say he opened doors, right? Mm-hmm. So, when boxing came into Latin America a little bit later than the United States, right? It's like, I mean, I'm not counting bare knuckle. I'm going to count like when the gloved era started, right?
Okay.
So it was like 25 years later. Mm-hmm. But how quickly they started becoming champs was kind of phenomenal, and he was one of the first ones to do it.
No. Mm-hmm.
And the first few fighters from Latin America kind of got jerked. Very controversial losses. 4 of the first 5. Firpo against Dempsey, and he knocked Dempsey out the ring. Dempsey himself admitted he got help coming back in the ring, which some people say was against the rules, some say it wasn't against the rules. Whatever, it's controversial, right?
Yeah.
And then Santiago Zorrilla fought Todd Morgan. That fight was a draw. A lot of people said Santiago should have won. Panamanian guy.
Panamanian.
Yep. And then there was, it might have been Al Brown. I know a guy from Chile, Ruti Espada, fought for a belt, but he got stopped. He wasn't coming close to winning. Okay. I think Al Brown was next. I think Al Brown was the next one, and he won a version of the NBA title, but then a lot of people didn't want to recognize him as the champ.
Why not?
I'm going to assume that it was because he was gay. And the reason why I'm assuming that is because in the Spanish newspapers, there was an American writer who couldn't get that article printed in the United States, but he got printed in Madrid. And he said that Al Brown, the commission at the time, Edward Mohun, I think was his name, right? New York State Commissioner. The way he described him, I'm going to use exact words, he was like vomiting expletives, is what they were saying about Al Brown, and calling him disgusting, all of this. So Al Brown was pretty feminine. And it seems like they weren't ready for that as a boxing champ.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was the reaction of the public? What was the reaction of the fans when he won his title? Or
Well, I mean, as a fighter, they all liked him. Now they were split personal-wise, so he encountered a lot of racism. There was some racism, right? He was a black guy in the 1920s. His father was an American slave who went to Panama to work on the canal, and his mom was from the French islands, Martinique. Mm-hmm. So he was Spanish. He could speak English because his pop spoke English, but he had like an accented English. So a black gay immigrant, and there's like a couple of strikes against him, 1920s, right? In America, that's
yeah.
So there were a lot of fans that didn't like him. There's reports of people not wanting to use the gym or the showers after he used it.
Interesting,
right? And a lot of fans would like throw bananas at him when he was coming into the ring. They were spitting on him and everything. And I don't want to give the whole book away, but
yeah. It's definitely a must read.
He had his circle though. Up in Harlem, he was hanging with Langston Hughes and that crowd. And in France, he had his circle also. He performed on stage with Josephine Baker, for example, Eugene Bullard. They all. He had friends, right? He was popular, but there was a strong, big, almost divided, almost right down the middle, like a love-hate relationship.
That's interesting. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Well, now you're working on 2 books. Oh, well, first, before I get off Black Ink, man, his story I think should be like a Netflix series.
Yeah,
or something.
It should be, man. It's like
documentary or something.
Like 6 people reached out to us, and one of them was about to get the ball rolling, but then some knucklehead got greedy on our side and kept trying to raise the price and was like, oh, if they're giving us 50, they could give us 60. If they're giving us 60, they could give us 70. And it just sabotaged that whole thing. So
that's terrible, man.
Then, they act like they did nothing wrong. Like, hey, I was trying to get the best deal, whatever. But let's see, man. Maybe the future holds something in store for that.
Hey, man, we this podcast about to go crazy, man.
Okay.
So
no, he deserves a story. He's I just hope that whoever does it properly, right? Doesn't try to exploit the guy, because the guy was exploited enough in his life. The last thing we need to do is exploit him in the afterlife like this knucklehead was doing with trying to get rich off of him. It's like the guy's been dead 170 years. Let him rest in peace, man. What are you trying to... You didn't even write the book. What you trying to get all crazy for?
That's wild.
Now, I don't want to say the guy's name. Anyway, even if I try to say the name, it's going to come out like a curse. But whatever, I may have to deal with him again. And if we do, we'll start with a clean slate, and hopefully we could get something done.
Yeah, man, I'm hoping you guys could come to some happy medium, because it's a
great story.
It's a great story, and if I think the community, I think anybody who watches it would enjoy. I
think so too.
Yeah, because if you read the book, it's a good book, and it needs to be told. I feel visually as well.
It should be. I agree. Now they did do one story on him in Spanish. Mm-hmm. I haven't gotten able to see it yet. I don't even think it was like released theatrically, but they do have something. It's called Brown.
Okay. Yeah. I haven't checked it out. I'll check it out. So now you're actually working on 2 other books. You're working on a book on Latin American history, boxing history, and then you're also doing one regarding the sanctioning bodies.
That one's going to come out first.
Okay, so you know what? It's called the 4 Belt Era. It's about the sanctioning bodies. We'll get into that first. Could you talk to me about the 4 Belt Era? What did you mean by that? Talk to me. What's this book about?
That's what they call it now, the 4 Belt Era, right? Mm-hmm. So, and to me, it sounds stupid, but I've been around since before the 4 Belt Era, right? That don't even do nothing for me, 4 Belt Era. Because back then, when I first started, it was just 2 belts, right? Or 1.5 belts, because the WBC wasn't completely recognized back then, right?
Yeah.
So now everyone's happy with 4 belts, right? So it's wild to me to think, because just like, imagine 20 years now, they're going to call it the 8 belt era, right? You might think that's kind of crazy, but whatever. You know what? Give everybody a belt. I don't care, right? What I don't like is when the historians or the people that vote for the Hall of Fame, or even some casual fans, they look back into history and they're like, oh, he was never a champ, he was not undisputed, and then they start like trying to like lower their accomplishment. But that's what I don't like, because you can't compare it, because it didn't exist back then. Trust me, if there were 4 belts back into history, you'd see a lot more champs.
Yeah, of course.
Right? You would see a lot more. So what I did was, because people love the 4 belts, I said, you know what? Forget the 4 belt era. Let's make the 4 belt era from the beginning of time. And I went in the very first rankings of Ring Magazine, and I just randomly picked out the 4 guys and then followed their record. And whoever they lost to became the new champ, and that was it. and it's kind of wild. It's a silly exercise, but at the same time, it kind of opens your eyes about who might have been what. And I'm not gonna lie, man. You put a title on someone's name, you almost start thinking of them as a better fighter now.
Okay.
So it's kind of funny how that worked out. And then Ring started in 1924, so I had to go like backwards.
Oh, like, okay. Jack Johnson days and all that.
Huh?
Jack Johnson days and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
So now you see, like, Jack Johnson's no longer the first black heavyweight champion, for example, right? Panama Brown is no longer the first Latino champion.
Okay.
Andy Ruiz is not the first Mexican-American heavyweight champion, right?
Okay.
So it's just totally changing everything. Harry Greb finishes with over 150 title fights, right? Sugar Ray Robinson up there also, over 100 title fights. Joe Louis, over 100 title fights. Because now we're putting belts. Back then, the number 3 contender fought the number 5 contender. It's the same thing now. Like, how many, like, do a top 10. Give me a division.
Get 140.
140. Okay, so let's run the top 10 in any order. Tio,
Puello, Catterall.
You want to throw Josh Taylor in there still?
Nah.
No. Paro
Paro for sure.
Matias. All right, so
we'll
if
work with those
Matias,
five. We'll work
if
with those
Matias
five.
and Paro fought,
They did fight.
yeah, I know, but that back in the before the 4 belt era, that would be the number 4 and number 5 guy, or
Yeah.
whatever Paro was rated at the time.
It would be. He would. Nobody was number 1 or 2 at that fight.
They weren't champs.
No.
So the number 4 and 5 contender. Now it's a title fight, right?
Back then, it was just a fight.
It's happening all the time. So now let's say Paro won. So let's say Paro fights Puello. That's number 4 versus number 2. Happened a million times.
Yeah.
But now it's a unification fight. So it's weird the way you change the meaning of a word and it just totally changes your outlook on things.
Yeah. What do you think of this era? I call this era the undisputed era. We as much as we don't like the sanctioning bodies, we have had people
I don't care about the sanctioning bodies, and I don't dislike them. I just think that they no longer define what a champion is.
No, but what I'm saying,
there's just too many of them.
What I'm saying is once you put a belt on somebody, there is some assigned value to it.
It is. Yeah, that's the way the game works now. It's a promotional tool.
But what I'm saying now is this era, in order to really show you're the best, you kind of have to wipe out a division.
And they were doing that in the past.
No, but I'm saying is they're doing it now. I feel like the boxing fans now, we complain so much about the fights we don't get that we don't appreciate the fights we do get.
Right.
We got Usyk versus Fury for Undisputed. We got Spence versus Crawford. A little too late, but we got it for Undisputed nonetheless. 154, Charlo Undisputed, Canelo at 168 and the new way.
But if you go back to the 1970s, basically every title fight was undisputed. That's what I'm saying. So
I got you.
Yeah, so you could call it the undisputed era because the language has changed, right? People don't even know what a champion is now. What's a champion? Look at the dictionary.
Yeah.
Right? It's the top guy. Right? Now it's not the top 4 guys, not the top 6 guys.
Yeah.
Right? So
now there's interim champions and regular champions.
supers and everything. And you know what? If that's what makes the boxing world go round, then yeah, keep it doing. But I don't you see how you just distinguished this is the undisputed era?
No, well, it's because the verbiage has been created.
All of Ali's fights were undisputed.
No, I agree. But what I'm saying is the verbiage has been developed now because let's say in Mayweather's era, let's just say that wasn't necessarily a goal. And the same 4 belts were around. If Mayweather was fighting in this era now, it would be looked at as, well, are you going to go undisputed? Because Canelo just did, because Usyk just did, because Inoue just did, because Crawford just did.
Okay.
And he will feel obligated to try to pursue that, is what I'm trying to say. So that's why I call, not saying that this era is doing something that the previous era isn't. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah, you get what I'm saying, though?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's what we come through. We got to put labels on things to sell things now. You can't sell a fight no more to good guys. Although we saw a little bit of that with Turkey when he was putting like Zelig Zhang versus Deontay Wilder, for example.
Yeah. I mean the Haney Ryan Garcia fight. I know it was for a title, even though Ryan didn't
came
make
in
the weight.
overweight, right?
But let's just say it wasn't for a title. You think that fight would have sold 1 less pay-per-view? You get what I'm saying?
I don't know. You think they would have fought if no title was on the line?
Ryan don't care about titles.
How about Devin?
Devin, I do think so, that he cares about it, but I do think that, let's just say, if in his first fight the opportunity to fight Ryan came up and it wasn't for a belt, he would have took that opportunity because of the money,
Yeah, and so, but now that's just I don't know. I think now we saw it a little bit with Zhang, the heavyweights. Although I'm not too quick to give them too much credit because that originally was supposed to be Beterbiev Bivol in the main event, right? And that was canceled. So Joshua Dubois, that was for a belt too. I think that fight would have been just as popular without the belt.
Yeah.
But we don't know because they keep attaching these belts to it.
That's true.
So now Usyk Fury ain't undisputed no more, is it?
No, it's not. But we know what it's lineal. It's the best fighting the best. It's the 2 best heavyweights.
Yeah. So I don't pay attention to that new definition no more.
Let's talk about Usyk since we
It's like used cars. Remember they used to call them used cars? Now they call them pre-owned cars.
Yeah.
Same thing, though. But that's what they do in boxing. They just changing the language.
That's funny. Speaking of Usyk, I wanted to address Usyk, and because you're a boxing historian, I want to know, where does he
I don't know where he ranks, man.
Before
He's
you
nice, though.
Before you give me your opinion, let's go down his resume. So,
No, he's nice. I know all about him.
he's a gold medalist.
I felt he was everything that they were all saying Lomachenko was.
I've heard that before.
Because he started like by his 10th fight, he was top 10, maybe even had a belt.
Yeah.
So historically, though.
Well, before you give me your answer, I want to lay down his resume for the people that maybe don't think of Usyk as such a great fighter. So he wins gold in the Olympics, which some people hold the amateurs to a higher standard. Some people don't. I actually do hold specifically the Olympics. How you perform in the Olympics is a great honor, and he did that. He then undisputes cruiserweight. Say whatever you want. Strong division, weak division. He undisputed
some good fighters.
And not only that, he got every belt in the other person's home country, including the undisputed fight with him being a Ukrainian fighter. Went to Russia to face a Russian fighter in an undisputed fight, beats him, moves up to heavyweight, takes out Joshua twice, then beats Fury. And if he beats him again, he would have beaten him twice. That, to me, is as good a career as an Evander Holyfield, a better career than Riddick Bowe, as good a career as Michael Spinks, a lot of fighters. And I want to know where you think he ranks in terms. You don't have to give me a number, but you give me a gauge as to how great he is.
Well, I mean, he's doing what he has to do, right? How good are his opponents, though? You think Tyson Fury was as good as Evander Holyfield?
He's not as accomplished, but before the fight, remember, people were saying that he could beat any fighter in history and he could compete with Ali.
Well, I don't know who was saying that.
A lot of people said. Jim Lampley said it on my channel.
He struggled with Francis Ngannou, though, right before that.
He did.
So we don't know which Tyson Fury is number one. But the reason why I mention that is because Riddick Bowe, who got the best win, Riddick Bowe or Usyk?
Riddick Bowe beating.
So maybe you can't rate Usyk that high, and I don't know.
Well, so. I do think that in terms of depth, I think he may not have as good a win as Riddick Bowe in terms of beating Evander Holyfield, but I think his career has more depth. And he won gold when Riddick won silver. So if you want to add that to
Riddick, I'm gonna give Riddick a pass on the Olympics because
I do think the ref was bad.
Well, I don't. That stoppage was a little weird, but Riddick didn't complain too much though about the stoppage. But Riddick was 178 the year before. And he just moved up to heavyweight, so the heavyweight was new to him. Lennox was in the '84 Olympics.
I remember,
right? And then he didn't win, and he stayed. And he was a heavyweight basically his whole fighting career. Riddick was 178, moved up, so I kind of think he wasn't quite ready for that firepower just yet.
No, I think he was winning the fight, but the referee gave him a standing 8 count that didn't deserve. I thought Lennox Lewis deserved that 8 count. He didn't get it.
Right.
And then he stopped the fight. It was very weird.
I'm talking about the levels, though, because even Riddick, with all his golden gloves, some of those golden gloves he won with buys, right? And the opponents didn't even show up. So Lennox was a much more experienced amateur than not just more experienced, but also had been heavyweight longer.
I got you.
So, no, listen, I'm not knocking Usyk. I think Usyk has done everything he is supposed to have done. Right? I think
he wasn't supposed to beat Joshua, let alone twice. Well, he wasn't supposed to beat Fury.
I thought he had a good chance against Joshua.
But the odds didn't say that.
Yeah, because that's money. I wouldn't know if I would have put my money to it.
I predicted that Joshua, the first fight, was gonna get a knockout of the year type performance. The reason
who he ever knocked out before like that for that level fight?
He knocked out Klitschko.
Was that a TKO?
Yeah, he stopped him in the 11th round.
Yeah. That was an older Klitschko too, though.
I mean, but he knocked him out. He knocked out Charles Martin. Say whatever you want, but he knocked him out. He knocked out Dominic Brazil.
Yeah, but those guys ain't Usyk level.
No.
Right.
But Vladimir Klitschko is
well, yeah, but he was a little older.
He was older, but he was still Vladimir Klitschko.
Right.
And if you see the fight,
no, it's a great fight. Remember,
it's a great fight.
He almost ripped his head off with an uppercut.
And he didn't look old in the fight. It's not like. Yeah, but like that wasn't Klitschko. He fought just like how Klitschko fought. I'll give it to him. Got that win.
I'll give it to him. I didn't think he was gonna knock out Usyk. I didn't think so.
I thought he was gonna knock him out like Savage style because I'm like,
I didn't think that.
Because Josh was such this big mammoth of a man. You telling me this little cruiserweight is gonna move up and beat him at the time? At the time,
Andy did too to him though. So Joshua reminds me of Ken Norton, where he could look great one night and then just not even know where his legs are on some nights, right? And we've seen that a few times. I like Usyk. I think he might have beaten Holyfield, right, if they were to fight. I think he ranked up the right style.
Yeah,
you could look a little bit at Chris Bird when Chris Bird fought him. Mm-hmm. So
it's another southpaw.
He might have had the right style to beat him. So I don't know where to rate him exactly. I personally rate quality of opponents top.
Okay, I agree. I understand that line of thinking, but I also think that you fight the guys in your era.
You have to.
When you wipe out 2 divisions to go undisputed.
No, you give him credit for that.
And then you go, all right, in the Olympics you won gold.
You remember Bernardo Brito, baseball player?
I'm not familiar with him. It sounds familiar.
But he never made it to the major leagues, but he was killing AAA.
Okay.
Right, but he got to the few times he got called up, he couldn't hit.
No, but come on.
But this
Usyk been in the major leagues, man.
No, but what I'm saying is you could crush certain opponents, but then really the gauge is how are you performing against top not A level opponent? Well, we're talking all time great. That's why I'm bringing that level up. So Brito, if you've seen him in AAA, he looked like Sammy Sosa.
Yeah.
Then you look at him in the major leagues, he looked like he never swung a bat before.
Yeah.
So that's the big difference when you level up.
I think Joshua and Fury are the major leagues. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
They are major leagues, yeah.
So, and he beat...
But we're talking all-time great level now.
And between those 2 fighters, he got 3 wins.
But you're talking about history, all-time great. So now we're not just talking... We're talking Joe Louis. We're talking Larry Holmes.
No, he's not better. He's not better than Joe Louis. Right. So maybe Larry Holmes. I have to... Maybe.
Usyk over Holmes?
Maybe.
Holmes had a lot of tricks up his sleeves, though.
Maybe. I'm not saying who would win in a fight.
I don't know. You may be right. I don't know.
I'm talking about all-time great. I mean,
So I don't count all-time great. I don't count what they did in the minor leagues, for example.
No, all right,
I just count what they did against...
In the pros. Against top competition.
Against Hall of Fame level opponents, exactly.
All right, so the only Hall of Fame level opponents he faced is probably Fury and Usyk, and he's 3-0. I mean, Fury and Joshua.
You think Joshua's going to make it to the Hall of Fame?
Joshua was the best heavyweight for like 4 years in a row or something like that before he got stopped.
You think that's enough to get in the Hall of Fame?
I think so.
All right.
I think he was clearly the number 1 guy, made multiple defenses, unified 3 belts.
Was he clearly the number 1 guy with Tyson Fury around?
Yeah, when he beat Klitschko, I believe Fury was like...
Well, Fury was
out on his hiatus.
No license, whatever, yeah.
Wilder was not beating the quality opponents that Joshua was, and he had less belts, so the number 1 heavyweight was clearly Joshua, and I think he's a Hall of Famer.
I think he's going to make it into the Hall of Fame.
I think both him and Fury are Hall of Famers. Now, are they slam dunk competing with Joe Louis, Mike Tyson and all? Nah, I'm not going to go that far, but I do think they're Hall of Famers. Yeah. But let's...
You know Klitschko never beat a Hall of Fame fighter?
Really? That's interesting. I can believe that. He did dominate his era, though. He never beat a Hall of Famer. That's interesting.
Him and his brother are the only 2 heavyweight Hall of Famers who never beat a fellow Hall of Famer.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Wow. Okay. There we go. I told you I got a boxing historian here. I'm about to drop some gems. Let's talk about your other book, Bad Hombres. First of all, I love the name.
That book I've been working on for a while. I got sidetracked. It was going to come out during COVID. And then I had like a deal with a publisher, but then they only wanted to do ebook.
Yeah.
And they were willing to do print book, but they wanted to sell it like at $49 or something. That's what I'm saying, man. No one's going to buy that. I wouldn't even buy it at $49.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to do it independently, and I'm kind of glad I waited because I got more info.
Well. First of all, can we tell the public what this Bad Hombres is about?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. So it's about the pioneers of boxing in Latin America.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you get into the nitty gritty
the beginnings, the first stars.
All right.
Okay.
But since
not the first champions, the first stars.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about the first Dominican star.
Well, all right. So now, how much of a star? I don't know.
Okay.
Because they were like popular in the sporting world. not necessarily like in the mainstream.
Not
public.
like Jack Dempsey or
No, Dempsey was like
no. I know what you mean.
Yeah. So, well, he was from the 1920s and 30s. I'll tell you that.
Okay, what's his name?
I don't know if I should give it all away though.
You're not giving it away. You're giving people a sneak peek.
Well, I don't want to give it away too much because he is also the first in my book, the four belt era.
Okay.
He's also the first Dominican champion. Back in the 1930s.
All right.
Yeah. So I want to hide a little bit. I don't want to give away too much.
So talk to me about Carlos Teo Cruz. You wrote a story
he was the
on
first
him.
champ.
He's the first Dominican world champion. Talk to me about who he was and how good was he.
Well, he's great. He beat Carlos Ortiz and he beat Mando Ramos. And then he lost to Mando Ramos in the rematch with us because of a cut. So... he fought kind of like Triple G, but not with the knockout punch, though, right? That was his style, nice and tight, and all aggressive. Well, he was the first one to actually officially become the first champ.
I know he beat Carlos Ortiz, one of the greatast Puerto Rican fighters of all time,
so
for the lightweight title.
The Dominican Republic had a very bad political climate from say World War II to the 1960s. That's when Trujillo was in charge. This guy he changed the name of Santo Domingo to Trujillo City. Remember, he used to say God on earth, Trujillo on earth?
Yeah.
God on heaven, Trujillo on earth.
Yeah.
So it was very hard for political sports to prosper with that political environment. So that's why in the 30s and 40s, you had a couple of Dominicans who were in the top 10, some really, really good fighters like Carlos El Zurdo Perez, Antonio Medrano. Antonio Medrano, from what I read, it sounds like he fought like Pernell Whitaker.
Really?
Southpaw, slick like that in a crouch. So then it went dead kind of until Carlos Teo Cruz came back. And even Carlos Teo Cruz had to go to Puerto Rico for most of his career.
No, I know that.
So,
I want people to know just know more or less who Carlos Cruz is. Could you break that down?
Yeah, he's a good fighter. Died, unfortunately, in the prime, right, in that airplane accident. Junior lightweight champion. Was one of those kind of guys where he went to Puerto Rico and he was like, he wasn't home, so he was kind of the opponent fighting on short notice, but eventually learned his trade to the point where when he died, one of the Puerto Rican newspapers says, today 2 countries are in mourning, right? Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. Because of, he married a Puerto Rican lady. He stayed in Puerto Rico, right, his whole life. An outstanding lightweight, late 60s. Champ, lost to Mando Ramos on a cut. He might have regained it. Would have gave everyone a good fight back then.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And do you know anything about his brother Leo Cruz?
Leo Cruz, first 2 Latino brothers to become champions. Leo
really?
Cruz.
So the first 2 Latino brothers to become champion are Dominican?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you tell me how good he was? He actually holds the record for most title defenses by a Dominican, too.
Who?
Leo Cruz.
How many did he have?
I believe he had
like
4.
4.
I believe
like
he had 4, yeah.
Yeah, really good fighter, junior welterweight. And very sad story because he's like 8-10 years younger than Carlos Cruz. And he took Teo Cruz to the airport when Teo Cruz had come to the Dominican Republic and then he was flying back to Puerto Rico, right? And when he was driving home with the parents, it came out on the radio, the plane crashed.
Wow.
And they made a U-turn, headed back to the airport, but they couldn't see nothing anymore. And that same year, he won the gold medal in the Pan Am Games, right? He almost didn't go.
Wow.
Because it was, the tragedy in the family.
I totally understand.
A couple of years later, became champ. I believe junior featherweight champ.
I believe so, too.
Yeah.
I believe so, too.
Leonardo.
Yeah.
Leo Cruz. Yep.
Can you talk to me about Kid Azteca?
I love Kid Azteca.
Who is this guy?
Man, he is the guy who invented the left hook to the liver. So everything you see about Mexico, left hook to the liver. And
he's the original Mexican to do it.
He's the first one to do it.
Really?
Yeah. At least documented. So he was fighting a guy from Texas named Tommy White. Tommy White was a beast. He had like 200 fights, right? 80 knockouts, something crazy like that. He fought in Mexico a lot for some reason. And Tommy White hit him one time. Like, he didn't even like aim for the liver, but he caught him in the liver. And Azteca went down and he was like, yo, why can't I move? right? And then he started perfecting that punch. He said, I'm going to use that everywhere. So as Azteca came up, that's when television started filming fights in Mexico.
Yeah.
So Azteca was basically a movie star. He's fighting 2 or 3 times a month on TV.
Yeah.
Right? So he's the legend. That's a guy that should be in the Hall of Fame.
Really?
100%. I don't know why they don't got him in the Hall of Fame.
Just off the strength that he invented the left hook to the body.
That alone is enough. He was Mexican champ for like 17 years.
Which would have been a WBC, WBA.
You got to read for a belt era. This guy's like
you making me want to buy this book now.
You better want to buy it. So Azteca, all right, let's compare him to, name someone in the Hall of Fame of recent years.
Welterweight. Welterweight. Floyd was recent.
But Floyd's on an all-time level.
Great. Yeah. Welterweight recent. I can't think of anybody recent.
I personally don't.
I'm drawing a blank.
Let's just pull a name out. Who got elected last year?
I'm not quite sure, to be honest with you.
I'm not sure
I think Tim Bradley.
All right, we'll go with Tim Bradley. How many Hall of Famers Tim beat?
He beat Marquez. He beat Pacquiao.
Well, it counts as a win, right? That might be it.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Azteca beat 5.
Really?
Yeah. Right. Over 100 knockouts. Basically created a punch that every other Mexican fighter started using afterwards. So he's got pioneer, innovator. He's got a dope record, right? I mean, how many guys beat 5 Hall of Famers?
Yeah, not many.
I mean, did Larry Holmes beat 5 Hall of Famers?
No, absolutely not.
He beat Ali.
Which was a totally shot Ali.
True.
And I think that's
He got Norton.
Oh, he beat Norton.
And I'm struggling now. I don't know. See, so this guy beat 5. Now, he got a lot of losses, but he's also fighting, from 15. He fought like 30 years or something. He's one of the guys, 5 decades.
Yeah.
Right? He's one of those. So
that's insane.
Yeah, put him in the Hall of Fame. I don't know why he's not in the Hall of Fame. To me, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I know why. Because he never won a belt.
Because he didn't fight in the 4-belt era.
Because he fought in an era when there was only one champ. And that champ, first of all, he kind of overlapped World War II when the titles were frozen. So nobody was fighting for the titles for many of those years. And then you're talking about guys like Sugar Ray Robinson and Kid Gavilan. There's just not enough room for everyone to be champ at that level. Yeah. Plus, he was in Mexico most of his career. So
yeah.
If Mauricio was around back then,
he definitely would have had a belt.
Emeritus, what's the other one? Franchise?
Diamond belt.
All of that. All of the above. Yeah. I'm surprised he don't have a Kid Azteca belt.
Hey, who knows? Don't give him any ideas.
Nah, he's thought about that already.
Talk to me about the rivalry between Puerto Rico and Mexico. That's a
a great rivalry.
That's a Latino rivalry.
But now they use it too much, though.
They definitely use it too much.
They use it too much. Yeah.
2 things I want to say, and then I want you to respond. One, where did that rivalry originate?
Wilfredo Gomez.
And then my next thing is, well, you know what? Yes. When did that rivalry start? He said Wilfredo Gomez against Salvador Sanchez.
Oh, so the early beginnings of it was when he fought Zarate. Carlos Zarate, right?
Who was a big puncher.
Yeah. Now, Zarate was sick that night, though.
Okay.
Right? Because it looked like he caught the dengue, right? Based on the reports. But whatever. He went through with the fight. Mm-hmm. And Wilfredo was a little rough, hit him down when he was down and stuff, right? But then it really went up to a different level when he fought Sanchez, right? Because that was the first time. If you look at any of the other Mexico, Carlos Ortiz, when he fought Battling Torres in Mexico, there wasn't much talk about rivalry. Mexico, even when Gomez fought Zarate leading into it, it wasn't all that much of a rivalry. But Gomez used to pop a lot of crap, right? And Wilfredo Gomez trained with Roberto Duran. He was part of Roberto Duran's crew, right? He was fighting. If you look at his early fights, it was in Panama, a lot of his fights.
I know that.
Yeah, he was fighting on the undercards. Some of those cards were nice. It was like Gomez, Arguello, Duran, all of those on some of those cards. So Gomez used to run his mouth off. If you ever met anyone that knew Wilfredo Gomez, they would say the guy used to just talk. So every Mexican wanted to beat him up, right? And Sanchez and him took that to another level. But the first time you really started seeing hype in the press was when Chavez fought Rosario. which was a couple of years later. That's when you first started seeing the boxing media talking about this so-called rivalry.
So basically, you want to say Sanchez Gomez opened the door, but what really started it was Rosario
That's
Chavez.
when, if you read the newspaper reports leading up to the Sanchez Gomez, there's no talk about it. Right, it was in the small arena, 3,000 seat. It wasn't even a huge. Read Red Smith's article on it. I forgot who was fighting that weekend. I think it was it the same week as Leonard Hearns?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
It might have been around that time, but the fight was overshadowed, kind of like.
I got you.
Right, so anyone who talks about that, like, oh, it wasn't a must-see fight. That was a real boxing,
like a hardcore fight.
Exactly, yeah.
I got you.
And so, but when Chavez fought Rosario, that's all you heard in the street. And that was the first time when people started. It felt like a football game or a Yankee Dodgers game. That's
okay.
Chavez Rosario.
You know what surprised me doing research?
Hold on, let me rewind it. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Because part of that rivalry began when Gomez came into the ring with the salsa band, and Sanchez came in the ring with the mariachi band, and they kept trying to outplay each other. Right? So that was all what blew it up. And by the next time two top Mexicans and Puerto Ricans fought, it was done already.
Wow, that's so interesting. And you know what surprised me while doing research for the interview is Puerto Rico is such a small island. And right, they're competing with...
It's not a fair comparison.
No, they're competing with this huge country in Mexico.
No,
right?
It's not a fair comparison size-wise.
And then when you look into the numbers, Puerto Rico is leading.
Are they?
They have more championship wins over Mexico than Mexico has over Puerto Rico. And this is an island that's small. So, like, I want to say, if you talk about...
It's like New York versus America or Canada.
Yeah, exactly. It's insane when you really think about it. And I want to say per capita, I think Puerto Rico has the best fighters. If we talk historically speaking...
Puerto Rico or Wales?
Wales,
Wales got a lot of good fighters for. Yeah,
Joe
where Joe Calzaghe's from.
And who else is from?
Way back, man. Jem Driscoll, Ted Kid Lewis. I can't even think of all the other names now, but they've got a whole slew of top fighters.
Okay, all right. I got to do my
Welsh.
I got to do my research on. I definitely know Joe Calzaghe. That's our era, But anybody else, I'm not too familiar with.
For the size of the place.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Could you give me your top 3 Puerto Rican fighters in order and your top 3 Mexican fighters in order? All time.
Top 3 best or favorite or best?
Best.
So I go by record.
Okay.
So Benitez beat the best fighters. He beat Palomino, he beat Cervantes, he beat Duran. That's you can't match that.
So he's number 1.
I think Carlos Ortiz comes second on that criteria, and then Gomez third.
Okay. How about Mexican?
Mexico is a funny place. Now, I'm going to go with Sanchez because I think that in his 2.5-year window, he outshines what a lot of people done. How many he beat Danny Lopez twice. He beat Wilfredo Gomez. He beat Azuma Nelson. Those are all Hall of Fame level guys. They were like still winning.
And did he beat Juan Laporte?
Yeah, Juan Laporte's not in the Hall of Fame.
No, I know he's not, but it's a solid win.
It's so, Ruben Castillo, a couple other wins. Some of the fights were close because he sometimes fought down to his opponents. So I would put Sanchez number 1 because Chavez, as much as you love him or want to love him, and as great as he was for the moment, he only beat 2 Hall of Famers, right? Rosario and Camacho.
Okay.
Sanchez got 4 wins in 2 years. Chavez got 2 in 100 fights. I got to go with Sanchez first.
Okay.
Because he was taking them from the top. You see what Usyk did?
Yeah.
That's what Sanchez did in shorter time. Right,
it's respected.
Yeah, so I would go with Chavez second and third. Man, Mexico is so deep, man. I might have to go with. I think Canelo's getting close. I won't quite put him there. He is close.
What about Marquez? Marquez
kind of is up there. I'm gonna go with Ruben Olivares still.
Ruben Olivares. Yeah. All right.
I'm going to go with him still.
All right.
He had like a streak of like 80 fights where he was like almost untouchable.
So with with Julio Cesar Chavez, you mentioned he had 100 fights and only 2 wins over Hall of Famers. Is he a little overrated?
Well, I don't know how high you rate him. I wouldn't call him overrated because he was a fantastic fighter.
I'm saying amongst
listen, if you talk to boxing fans, some boxing fans, you got to talk to people that ain't boxing fans, right?
Okay.
You speak to a boxing fan, they're going to make it seem like every Mexican family has a shrine to Chavez in their living room, right? That's how they make it seem. I know Mexican families that never watched any of his fights, right?
Okay.
So who's rating him? I don't know. The guy was an outstanding fighter. That's really all we could say.
Okay.
So I don't know how high you want to rate him on that pedestal. He really wasn't 89-0 though.
I got you.
Right? There was a couple of hiccups on the way. Whitaker beat him, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't remember if people know this or not, but I remember when he lost to Frankie Rando, he was yelling at Don King, "You promised me 100-0. You promised me 100-0." So I don't know what the hell kind of agreement or discussions were going on there, right? But
yeah,
fantastic fighter though. That I'll just leave it at that. Okay. Outstanding fighter. I watched all his fights, and I knew Greg Haugen was wrong when he said he beat nothing but taxi cab drivers. I believe Meldrick Taylor should probably be in the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
So I do think his record should bump up a little bit. I actually think Juan Laporte should be in the Hall of Fame.
Really?
Yeah, because he beat Pedroza, right? Okay. You saw where Haney got the win over Garcia.
No.
They reversed it. It's a no contest.
It's a no contest.
So they did the same thing with Pedroza and Laporte because Pedroza was cheating, but they didn't make it a no contest. They called it a win for Laporte. So Laporte's fight with Chavez could have gone either way.
That was a close 50-50
That was a real close fight. So was his fight with Azuma Nelson. Nelson, I never seen Azuma run so much as he did against Laporte. So now you're talking about a guy who went neck and neck with Chavez. Officially in New York, New Jersey, and 6 other states, got the win over Pedroza, and went neck and neck with Azuma Nelson.
Yeah,
that's more than enough. I mean, we're talking about putting AJ in the Hall. So I think Chavez's record should be a little better.
Okay,
right, but yeah, I mean,
he also got wins over Rocky Lockridge, who was a good fighter.
Another great fighter. Yeah.
So he definitely has some wins.
He's up there. I still go with Sanchez though, man. Sanchez to me was. Was a smooth operator.
I actually agree with you, so you're not going to get any argument on me from my side. But I wanted to ask you, who are your top 5 Latino fighters of all time?
That's a tough one. So Duran,
I gave you 5.
Duran got to go.
Number one.
Yeah, I think Duran's got to go. I mean, he's somebody who might be top 10. Period.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? I might put Duran as the number 1 Mexican fighter of all time because his father was Mexican.
His father was Mexican. Oh, his father was Mexican American.
Yeah.
That's
the blood. The blood is Mexican.
No, but we'll keep him for Panama. All right. Because that was where he's born and raised. That's where his mother's from. You know what I'm saying? That's where he repped. He never really repped Mexico, so.
Yeah, but his blood, man.
Blood. You know what? I'll let you have it.
His blood. I'll put Duran.
Duran number 1.
Now, I like Jose Napoles, but I'm going to go with Monzon second because Monzon's official record was beastly.
Oh, it's insane.
Yeah, I'll put Napoles third. And then, now it gets real hard, right?
You got Salvador Sanchez.
It might be Sanchez next.
So he's number, what, 4?
4. It might be Sanchez next.
You got one more. You got Chavez, you got Benitez, you got...
I would put Chavez over Benitez.
You would put Chavez over Benitez. Okay. So that's your 5th? Or no?
No, man. I'm thinking it might be... Man. Because it's like... it's real close now. There's like so little separated.
Yeah, you got one last one. You got one last one. You go Trinidad, no? Carlos Ortiz.
No. Carlos Trinidad is behind Ortiz and them.
You got,
maybe Arguello.
Yeah, how did that? All right, so we got Duran, Monzon, Napoles, Sanchez, and Arguello.
Something like that.
So you got all 5 people from different countries. You got Duran from
Duran
from Panama.
Argentina,
Cuba, Mexico, and then Nicaragua.
All right, that's
Wow,
how it is
so
then.
but
I represent for everyone.
yeah. You know who had top 5 potential? Joan Guzman, and it's unfortunate what happened in his career. We won't get
Carlos Teo Cruz had potential too.
Yeah,
He's
unfortunately,
only another 2 wins away.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, what do you make of the rise of Dominican boxing? Listen,
It's a fun era.
It came out of almost seemingly nowhere.
You get credit for a lot of that too, though.
I don't want to
at least putting a spotlight on it. You
okay,
get credit for
I'll
putting a
take
spotlight
that.
on
I'll take that.
Yeah, man, it's fun, man. It's excuse me. I remember when like Jose Barret was fighting, and there were always like pockets of Dominicans around. You ever heard of Jose Vidal Concepcion?
I have not.
A very popular fight in New York. Your pops might remember him. He just bring in 1,000 fans at the Forum all the time when he fought.
Okay.
Julio Cesar Green came on later on.
Yeah.
So they were. Miguel Montiel was real good.
Yeah, he fought
Aaron
Pryor.
Yeah. So there were always like pockets of it here, but you never seen like 10 come out at the same time.
We're seeing that now. We're seeing that now.
So it's good.
And any boxer particularly getting you excited in Dominican boxer, whether it be up and coming or current?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Rohan. Rohan is somebody to keep an eye on.
He that guy excited.
I like Puello too, though. I'm keeping an eye on Puello. He's real solid.
I honestly think he's the best 140 right now.
He might be. Well, you think?
I think he beats Teo.
You think so?
I think he beats Teo. Did you see how much Teo struggled with Sandor Martin boxing?
Teo's great if they come into him.
Yeah, and Puello is tall. He's a big 140. He's tall. He's long. I've met him in person several times. He has experience with aggressive fighters like Gary Antoine Russell and Batir Akhmadov. I think he's the best 140. He just hasn't been able to prove it, but he does have a belt for whatever it's worth. And I think that's a great fight for him. I don't think Teo would ever take that fight. No disrespect. I just think Puello.
I wish Carlos Adames was more not popular, more active.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that the PBC and I like PBC. Those are some good guys over there, but unfortunately they don't have enough shows to keep these guys active.
Yeah, man, because that guy's unfortunately was like right at his peak when he was about to bring it to another level.
Yeah. What do you think?
And we got to shout out. This is Schwani. What's he calling?
Who?
I forget. Schwan Boxing?
Schwan Boxing. Yes. Belica Peña.
She's done amazing work out there. It's like you don't even. She's like a one-man show down there, and she gets
one woman show. One woman show.
Exactly. I'm a human. She gets a lot of credit for because how long she's been in business? 12 years, something like that.
I'm not sure how long she's been in business, but one thing she does is she provides people a platform to fight on her platform. Sometimes
sending guys all over the world.
Sometimes these guys are not even signed to her, but they're fighting on her card and they're staying busy and they get a lot of credit. Visibility.
She was like she's like the old school promoters were when boxing here in New York was at its heyday, where just come on my show, right? But I don't need to own 20% of you, 30% of you.
Yeah.
And she's giving them activity. That's how it used to be. New York had a great scene back in the day, in a lot of cities actually, where it was like tiers: the local shows, the semi-local, and then the main event status. So she's filling a big important void. I wish somebody was doing in New York what she's doing down there.
And you know what? I think she could be the one to do it because there is a large Dominican fan base here, and if she figures out a way to tap into it, she can do shows here. And just with her own Dominican, fans, I think she can make noise. I wanted to switch gears over to Canelo. So Canelo and Benavidez looks like
they're not happening.
It's not happening. Benavidez is going to fight David Morrell.
Yeah, that's a nice fight too.
What do you make of that fight not happening? I don't know. It seems to be it's me personal. Like I don't know if he's ducking or what's going on. What's your opinion?
I doubt he's afraid of him. I mean, he's been through so many fights. I don't think he's afraid of anybody.
But it's the biggest money fight, and then there's really no other obvious opponent.
This guy make $100 million every time he fights. Money ain't nothing to him.
No, but you can make, let's say, 50 in your next fight or 100 in your next fight.
I don't know. I don't know why they're not fighting, unless he thinks it's going to marinate into something bigger.
Maybe, but the longer he waits, the older he's going to get. The more experience this guy's going to get, the stronger he's going to get. Now Benavidez and Morrell are fighting at 175. I'm not sure if there's ever intention to move back down for a Canelo fight. What do you think of that fight, Benavidez-Morrell?
Yeah, I think it's good. I think I was really liking Morrell. I mean, he didn't look all that hot his first fight at light heavyweight, but I think Benavidez got to be real careful because that's a fight Morrell could win.
Yeah, I'm curious as to see how Benavidez handles that footwork and Morrell got power,
Morrell's good.
So if you're gonna come forward, those are some hard punches you coming forward to.
I mean, I like Canelo. Canelo got his ups and downs. He's he got hit with the drugs, with the PEDs one time, and he's in that position where it looks like he could cherry pick. I mean, he fought Berlanga. That was a decent fight and made good money. But you almost feel like there were better fights that could have happened, right, with Canelo. So, he's in a funny place, though. But I think he's a master fighter, though, master boxer and everything, right? You never see him out of shape. He doesn't get hurt or anything. I don't know why he didn't go after Benavidez, though.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because I think it's the biggest fight that boxing could make right now.
Yeah, I mean, is Benavidez a crossover star? You think it's that big a fight?
I think it is a bigger fight because, Mike Tyson has dubbed this guy the Mexican Monster.
Who, Benavidez?
Yeah, and he's been on a bunch of platforms. He's shown that his he did a good gate when he fought Caleb Plant, and I think he's shown that he's much more popular, and that's the obvious fight that the fans want. So I think. When, I'm pretty sure amongst your friends, you're the boxing guy. When they see...
I got a couple of boxing guys with me, yeah.
I'm saying, but let's say like amongst your casual friends, they know you as the boxing guy, and then maybe they go to you. When they hear your excitement, like, man, this Benavidez-Canelo fight, that will spread. And I think that's the biggest fight that could be made. I think that fight could sell 2 million pay-per-views. I think it's that big of a fight.
Oh, you think so?
I think so.
I don't hear my casual friends mention Benavidez' name.
No, but I hear Stephen A. Smith mention him. I hear Mike Tyson mention him.
Though Berlanga, they were talking about, believe it or not, though, because
they're local New York.
They learned that,
yeah. I think it's a big fight. Yeah. I think it's a big fight.
No, I know it's a big fight,
and one that I want to see.
You talking 2 million though?
I'm thinking it does 2 million. I think Canelo's a superstar.
That's approaching. What did Mayweather Pac do? Like 3.5?
No, they did like 4.6 or something like that. Yeah, that's not.
It's a monster.
Yeah, that it's not that level. Let's not get crazy.
Yeah, but even 2, nothing's approached 2 since then, right? Ryan Tank, what that do?
I think that did 1.5.
I guess maybe it could reach 1.5.
Yeah, 1.52 around there.
Canelo gets 600 shadow boxing
off the rip.
Exactly, yeah.
And then you just add the suspense of this is Mexican Monster who Mike Tyson's back and who. Stephen A. Smith been on his platform talking about Canelo's ducking, and that's the fight he wants to see. Like, these are big superstars that are mentioning that they want to watch a fight, and if the fight's signed, they're going to be talking about it, promoting it.
Well, it looks like Canelo's fighting Eubank next.
Let's not get started there. Let's not get started. Let's switching gears. We got into how great Usyk was. But there's a 3-headed monster race as to who's number 1 pound for pound. I love
Terrence Crawford. I think he's up there with like Tommy Hearns and those guys. He just needs to be more active and he needs better opponents.
I agree.
Usyk is the one. Usyk and Inoue gotta bump him off. I think it's between Usyk and Inoue.
Well, which way you lean?
So Inoue is winning, like he's beating the crap out of his opponents. Usyk is beating them, but not quite like Inoue's beating them. So I would go Inoue first, Usyk second, and
Crawford.
And then Crawford third, yeah. But I think all of them are like on the same level. Now Inoue, you watch him fight, you forget that he's moving up in weight, right? Because they all look the same. Usyk, you could tell he's right.
Yeah. He's adjusting.
Yeah, exactly. But Crawford to me is like. And Crawford got the Guatemalan trainer, right?
Yeah.
Right? So Crawford, I hear Crawford is the kind of guy that never makes mistakes, not even in sparring.
Okay.
Which is like unheard of, man. You're talking like Sugar Ray Leonard level, you know?
Yeah.
So I think Crawford could be the man. He's got to get in the ring more, though.
I agree with you. Where do you think those guys? I think Inoue is doing something so special that we're not going to appreciate.
Now he's reaching Sanchez level.
Yeah, I think we're not going to appreciate it until after he's retired. We're going to be like,
I appreciate it now.
I am for sure.
I'm very glad. I went to the boxing writers dinner.
Yeah, I remember.
A couple months ago.
Yes.
I thought I was going to bring my daughter because she don't care nothing at all about boxing, right? But I was winning an award, and it was a nice event. It was a nice, fancy place. You know, I remember I took her to one like that, and, you know, she's young, right? She's a teenager. She was just like, she likes places where there's bathroom attendants, right? Giving you gum, and give you tissues, right? So I figured, let me take her to that place, right? It's a really nice place. And when we got there, she said, "Oh my God, I didn't know he was gonna be here. That's the guy from all the memes." So she knew Inoue.
Wow.
Right? They shared the memes of him with these highlights. So that was nice. And whenever he walked around, he had a mob of people, right?
Yeah, he's a superstar.
Right. And you couldn't get close to him, right? Very, very, like, from a distance. You watch the pictures on social media, it's like from across the room. So then when it came time to sit down and eat, right? They said, don't bother him while we're eating. And we were like, of course not. We ain't going to bother him when we're eating, right? Because we ain't groupies and fanboys either, right?
Yeah.
But then my daughter passed by him, and she held up her phone and went like this. And Inoue said, come on. He called her over, past his people, and took a selfie with my daughter.
That's dope.
That's great. Dope. Yeah, you don't see that,
And when she posted it on social media, she got any traction?
She was getting a lot of love because a lot of people were like, so the young kids, they were saying, yo, what kind of, I forgot the word they used to it.
It's the knockout guy?
Yeah, they were recognizing them. But side quest. They said, what kind of side quest are you on? Right? Because they were like, what are you doing? What are you doing posing with, like, the most famous boxer?
Yeah.
Right? So that was a nice night for her, though. She was getting a lot of
That's dope. She got
reactions.
She got to see her father win an award. What did you win an award for?
She didn't even pay attention to that part.
No, what?
I forgot. It was one story. Which story did I write? Oh, about the Golden Gloves. I wrote a story about the Golden Gloves.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, man.
So that was really nice. And Amanda Serrano was very nice, too. That's
my girl, man. I definitely got to get her. Matter of fact, Amanda, we got to do an interview.
Amanda, come on.
We got to do an interview. We known each other for too long. I'm now getting this podcast up and running. Let's get this on and popping, man. Let's get an interview going. She's definitely someone who I want to get doing.
She was taking pictures with, some bunch of men, right? Men taking pictures with her and everything. Yeah. And then when she saw my daughter, she smiled and gave her a little extra hug, though.
She's always been a sweetheart. Yeah. Always been super nice. I definitely got a lot of love for her.
Teofimo's always really nice too. Teofimo Lopez Jr. And he asked Joe Santoliquito, Joe, is it okay if I present Inoue with Fighter of the Year award? Because he's my favorite fighter.
Oh, that's interesting.
So he went up there and they let him give him the award.
Tio's always been good with me, but when last time we did an interview.
Yeah, man, these guys, they want to be controversial, man. And let's be honest, though. That's what got him attention.
Yeah, I know. I just...
if he'd have said something nice, no one would have even looked at that video.
I just think it's a bit of a cheap way of getting promotion.
I agree.
And I think that there should be other ways. And if it's gonna take you a little longer by not doing stuff like that,
blame the media for that, man. The media loves that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I threw it out there, right? I threw the video out there. And by the way, for everybody listening, the whole monkey and the banana comment was made on my channel.
Right.
What's unfortunate is it's such a great interview. I got so much information out of him.
I know. But that's the only part
that's the part that went viral. And I didn't even title it that because I didn't want that to be the focus. But of course, that's what ended up being the focus anyway. But I've had no problems with Tio both on the phone, like privately, and as well as in person.
All right too.
His father's a crazy guy, man.
He's all right.
He knows boxing,
crazy
in a good way.
Father knows boxing, though.
Yeah. He's trained his son to be a 2-time division champion. Like, he's someone, a lineal champion. He's someone who I'm like, Is this guy already a Hall of Famer? Because
he might be,
because he's lineal at 135 and then he's lineal at 40. Both fights he was the underdog in.
No, he beat Lomachenko.
Beats Josh Taylor.
No, he's on his way.
You know,
he's on his way.
At some point we have to look at it. All right, this is what this guy's doing. And he's only like 25, 26.
I think he's a little bit better than Hector Camacho was, and that's saying a lot.
That is saying a lot. That is saying a lot. Yeah. That is saying a lot.
And I've seen both of them in person, in the flesh.
Yeah.
I think he's a little bit better than Camacho.
Wow.
Yeah.
You think he could compete at 47? I know now he's at 40, but he seems small. He seems like a small guy for 47.
He could compete against some of them. He ain't gonna hurt them like he's hurting the smaller guys, though.
Well, he's not really hurting nobody at 140.
He's not gonna hurt them.
At 140,
he might be able to keep them off him. I think he needs a challenge, though. He really needs somebody to bring the best out in him, and I think he's got his mindset on 147.
You know, I've had him in my presence. I've had Rohan Polanco in my presence.
Oh, it's a big difference in size, right?
Yeah, it's a big difference in size.
Yeah.
And I think Rohan, he's never fought at 140. He's fought at 42, 43. I think if you're giving him those extra 4 or 5 pounds, he's going to be massive.
Yeah,
and he's big and he punches hard and Boots is up there. And even a guy like Mario Barrios, right?
I can't see T.O. fighting Boots physically.
That's what I'm saying. These guys are big and they hitting.
Because them guys come down to 147. T.O. would be moving up to 147.
Yeah. Nah, man. I definitely, with T.O., it's so unpredictable what performance you're going to get.
No, it is predictable. It's just the style.
He just has to fight an aggressive fighter, you're saying?
Then he shines. If the fighter's running from him, I think he even gets bored at that. You know, he thinks it's a win already because the guy's running from him. So
a lot of people felt he lost the Sandor Martin fight. A lot of people felt he lost the Jermaine Ortiz fight.
Yeah, because he was chasing the guy, and then they had a few exchanges. So who are you going to give it to?
Yeah, it's not much to go by. Yeah,
one judge will go one way, the other judge will go the other way, right?
Yeah.
Most judges are going to give it to the guy that comes forward.
No, man. If you could change one thing about the current boxing, what would it be?
Man, that's a good question. I don't know. I would wish the guys were more active.
Less belts, more activity.
I don't care about the belts. Let the guys have all the belts.
All right. So the
I like belts. That's why I went back into history, gave everybody else belts.
So you okay with the 4 belts?
I accept them as a part of the game and as a part of a promotional tool. I don't think that it no longer defines who's the best in the division.
I got you. But do you respect lineal champions?
Did you think Raleigh Romero was the best in his division?
No.
Did you think Ismael Barroso was the best in the division?
No, listen.
That's what a champion is supposed to be.
Daniel Gill was a unified middleweight champion.
Yeah, and Cotto put him out like he didn't even belong in the
Janabek now has I think 2 belts.
So I just don't look at belts as the definition as the top fighters no more. I mean, they kind of are most of the time.
What about Undisputed? You respect Undisputed?
Yeah, but just the same way I respected a guy like Muhammad Ali that cleaned out the division.
I got you.
Right, and Emil Griffith, yeah. How many times Ali would have been undisputed?
Yeah, no,
right?
Of course.
So,
yeah.
But belts, the fighters like them, TV likes them. So, yeah, leave the belts. I think the problem is that the fighters ain't active enough. So if I could change something.
What's the perfect medium for somebody fighting 12 rounds?
What do you mean?
How many fights?
3 or 4 times a year.
3 or 4 times.
Yeah, that's how it was. Maybe even, if it ain't a hard fight, maybe 5-6 times a year.
Really?
Yeah, because when you fight that often, you don't have to train as hard because you don't get out of shape. So it's not like you don't need those 10-week training camps up in the woods for every fight.
I got you.
Right? So I knew guys, well, I didn't know them all, but someone like, I forgot which heavyweight it was. I don't remember if it was James Jeffrey or Jim Corbett. One of them old timers. I read one of their books. He only did road work once a week. Mm-hmm. Right? And it was a combination of run, walk. He'd do 15 miles like every Saturday. Right? But they were fighting so much, though, that you only needed to run once a week.
Okay.
Right? So, you know what they say, it's hard to get into shape. It's easy to stay in shape.
I got you.
So if you stay in shape, and then your skills are sharper too. So, you get better fight. But I don't know. Then a lot of guys ended up damaged like that too, fighting that offense. So.
Yeah. I was waiting for you to finish. I was gonna bring that up. So. I think 3. If you're fighting 12-round fights, I think 3 is the good. You fight sometime in the beginning of the year, sometime in the middle of the year, and sometime in the end.
Yeah,
of the
that's
year.
fine. Yeah.
And that, you know what I'm saying. And you can vary that however you want.
It'd be better than what's going on now.
Yeah. Listen, for sure. It seems like.
Even Tank ain't fighting in December no more, right?
Yeah, that's up in the air. I'm not sure.
He's hitting a year, right? Without.
Well, he went to jail, so it's kind of like a bit complicated. Still, and he fought back in June against Frank Martin.
Frank Martin, yeah.
Yeah, so it hasn't been that long,
but it's going to be like one fight in like 19 months by the time he gets back in the ring.
Yeah, he went to jail. That's kind of why I would explain away his inactivity. But yeah, in general, you really don't get more than 2 fights a year from like the guys who you care about. Well, we care about everybody. I'm talking about the big fighters. Like these guys, they're making $30-40 million in one fight, and they're like, yeah, I don't need a fight. You know, like Canelo, he doesn't need to fight. Although he's probably a bad example. At one point, he was very active.
He's one of the more active guys.
Yeah, but you know, like Tank, you know, making 20 million, 30 million.
He ain't gonna make 20 million against everybody, Tank.
No, but
so he might, if he's waiting for that high of a payday.
But if you make 10, you kind of don't need a fight again. You get what I'm saying?
They need to get those better fights though. He should be fighting Shakur. He should be fighting Haney.
Yeah,
you know.
I agree. I think unfortunately, his age and his hype combined with his age doesn't match his resume. I think he's as talented as they say he is.
Yeah. But
I think in order for like the real boxing guys,
he's Joel Guzman in talent wise.
That's a good way of putting it, because nobody ever, like, I've talked to many Dominican boxing haters, and not one of them, not one time have people go, and even Joel Guzman wasn't that good. Not one single time have I gotten that, and I got some haters. So I know that's a great comparison. Tank, nobody says he sucks. Nobody says he's not talented. But when you look at his resume, it's a bit light. You know what I'm saying? It's not. He hasn't fought complete bums.
No, he's a great fighter. Well, I mean, do you want to call him great against the level that he's fighting?
You can. I don't think you can call him great.
You can quite. Yeah,
but exactly. You know, the Hector Luis Garcia. Hector Luis Garcia is a big guy. I know he moved him up from 30. He's not a little guy. Right. That was a solid win. You know, he has the fight against Pedraza at the time, which is a solid win. He got to take more chances then. But you can't keep stacking up solid wins and expect people to put you number 2, number 1 in pound for pound. Yeah. You got to start fighting these guys. Lomachenko did say that he
just a couple months ago, right? But they could have fought years ago. Yeah,
that is true. They could have fought years ago. I mean, Shakur Stevenson, from what I understand, is a free agent. I would love to see that unification.
No, I like Tank. I like the way he fights.
I like the way he fights. I like
his style.
Very, very powerful puncher.
Ever
smart.
since Elie Seckbach was blowing him up as a 4-round fighter, remember that? I've been watching him then, because when I first saw him, there was something real old school about him, about the way he fought. And he looks like in the ring, he's doing things that are not taught. He's just off reflexes.
His boxing IQ is insane.
His IQ, his ring vision, he sees things. Mm-hmm. He can move certain ways. Not too many guys could do that like he does. So I like him. I watch all his fights. I want to see him step up the competition a little bit, because now we're talking Hall of Fame level. If he could step up the opponents a little bit.
Yeah.
You don't see that many talented fighters in your lifetime.
What fight do you want to see Tank in most?
I want to see what he could do against Shakur.
Okay.
Shakur's a guy who, I mean, has Shakur even had a bruise in his whole boxing career?
Not
really, right? Yeah, so I want to see if can Tank close the gap on him, right?
I think the thing is, Tank is just as fast and he hits way harder. Yeah. So I honestly think I favor Tank in that fight.
I want to see it.
I want to see it though. Yeah. I want to see it, and
T.O., him and T.O. be a nice fight too.
And the promotion for him and T.O.
Yeah, that'd
back
be a great
and forth
fight.
With his father, with T.O. himself, and I definitely think they can do a big fight. Unfortunately, they're fighting in different divisions. They're part of different.
They're close enough.
They different promotional company.
Well, the promotional is going to be a problem. Yeah, but that's what I would eliminate. That the promotional and make these guys more active. That's what I would change in boxing.
Yeah, no, I listen. Your mouth to God's ears, man, because I'm the same way. Like right now, I'm like, man, when is Puello gonna fight? When is Adames gonna fight?
He got a fight coming up.
Puello, he's gonna fight Sandor Martin next.
It's an ugly fight, man. But
he's
got to do him though.
It's a mandatory.
He's got to do it. Yeah,
it's a mandatory, and
no one's gonna look good against Sandor.
He's that negative of a fighter, you think?
It's just so hard to fight, man. The guy's in reverse all the time.
Yeah, but
it's like fighting. It's like hitting a breaking pitch or a knuckleball.
Yeah, I got you. I got you.
He's got to do it though. He's in the way.
So he's gonna fight him. He doesn't have a date, but from what I understand, they're gonna try to put him on the Tanks undercard whenever that fight gets set.
Man, that just got canceled, right? The December one?
Well, that's the rumor, but no official announcement has been made. Okay. But that's what's going on with Puello. And after that, he got hit with double mandatories. After that, he has to rematch Gary Antoine Russell, which is ridiculous. The fight wasn't close.
Yeah, whatever.
They took a point from him, and they didn't count a knockdown, and he still won.
That's the belts.
That's
how they run.
It's insane, but hey, man, you got to go.
The rules don't make no sense.
Hey, listen, he gets by this.
What is that, a double mandatory?
I have no idea why. What did Gary Antoine Russell do to earn?
He got beat.
He got beat and got beat clearly. Yeah. That's my thing. They took a point from Puello unjustly. He was not holding it sexually.
You can't make sense out of what the organizations do sometimes.
And then he drops him in the last round. Yeah. The referee says it's a low blow.
Yeah, perfect. Make him the mandatory.
And he still couldn't beat him with everything that went his way.
That's the definition of a mandatory contender.
And it's insane how they're giving it to him. But hey, man, at some point you just gotta roll with the punches.
Why didn't they make him interim champ? Why stop at second mandatory?
I don't know. I will say Gary Russell Jr., the 126 pounder, was like a WBC champion for like 5-6 years. So they have a strong relationship, and I think that had a lot of influence as to why he's getting
what belt Puello got?
The WBC.
Oh, he used to be WBA.
He did
have the WBA.
He was a WBA champion, and then he tested positive and got stripped.
And Barroso he lost to Andy
Hiroka.
What belt was that?
I don't believe it was for a belt.
Barroso had a belt.
I think it was for like an interim belt, though.
Yeah, it's a belt.
Oh, it was like something.
It looks the same. Right?
Yeah.
The belt looks the same. So
I get what you're saying. Yeah, because the WBA champion is Rayo.
I think there's 7 guys with belts now in the 140 division.
It's insane.
6 or 7.
It's insane.
Make it 9. Why not?
Why not?
Yeah, why not? Make it 9.
You get a belt. You get a belt. You get a belt.
Man, it's looking like that sometimes, Yo,
it's insane. I like. The WBA was doing it the most egregious.
Of course.
They were the super champion, the regular champion, and the interim champion, not to mention all the little WBA Latino, WBA this, and it was like...
And the Latino ones are all right, because at least those are like regional titles,
and it looks good for the pictures, but when you're doing interim and regular champion, confusing the public when there's already enough confusion with three of the belts...
I would tell all of them, Gilberto Mendoza, Mauricio Suleiman,
Daryl Peoples
from the IBF, and Bacarcel from Puerto Rico. I would tell all of them, why don't you have 4 presidents of the WBO, 4 presidents of the WBC, 4 presidents of the WBA? Why not? If you could have 4 champs in each division, let's get an interim president, regular president, a super president.
All right.
I bet you they'll change their mind now on what it is.
I mean, you got access to Mauricio. You
I like Mauricio. Let me tell you something about Mauricio. He does a lot of good things for the game. Mm-hmm. A lot of these statues that you see.
Yeah.
He's funded a lot of them. They have a nice charitable organization. They do a lot of good stuff with medical testing that no one's done. And a lot of the organizations and state commissions have piggybacked off of their work. So Mauricio has done a lot of good things. The thing with the WBC, though, is the WBC comes first, boxing comes second. You just got to always remember that when it comes with them.
Yeah, what they did to Carlos Adames was absolutely disgusting.
But the way they'll look at it is that they were looking out for Charlo.
Yeah, and I mean, like, listen, I'm not somebody who's like, what was it, like a sociopath who I don't have any empathy. I have empathy for anybody, but hey man, yo, you going through your stuff, yo, you champion in recess, my brother. So
they could have done
when
something
you come back, you're the mandatory. But right now, we got to award this belt to Carlos Adames. He earned it, you know. And they kept him interim until finally they elevated him.
That's
and I thought
I said I don't.
It was excessive.
I don't look at them to tell me who the champ is. Is what when I don't look at the belts. I don't mind them existing.
I got you.
If they do some good for the game, even better. If they're not doing good for the game, they at the very least are putting a little label on it that allows the people to make more money. I know a lot of judges and referees who work those fights and they get paid a little bit more.
Yeah.
So if that's what it takes to make the world go round, then fine. I just don't look at them anymore as the definition of who the best fighters are in the division.
No, I mean I look at the belts almost like a marker as to who to look out for because
absolutely,
yeah, you know, they're the one, the champion, whether they're the best fighter or not, are the ones that are going to be getting the opportunities because they have this label of champion, and they may be in undisputed fights, they may be in unification fights, which the boxing crowd now, which is different than it was in the 70s and 80s, that's what they value most is unifications and undisputed. That's why I referred to this era as the undisputed era earlier. You know, so so
man. They doing good. They do some good for the sport. I hope they last forever. You know, they're doing some good for the sport. That's all.
Yeah. No, hey, listen. Anybody who's I can definitely say Mauricio cares about the fighters.
They got some really good people on the staff. Jill Diamond does a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
He's got his wife on the team. They do a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that we don't hear about.
Yeah.
They his father, Jose Suleiman, was giving pensions. Before we ever heard of what a pension was, he was giving pensions to guys like Kid Azteca and stuff like that.
That's
so Kid Azteca always said, you know, it's just enough to pay my rent and have some beans left over to eat every day.
Okay.
Right? So they doing something. Not everyone's doing that stuff for them, you know?
Yeah. No, it's cool. It's cool. I just, with me and Mauricio, you know our history. I just,
Yeah, that was a nice interview, though. You guys should do it again.
Hey, man, I would like...
hatchet.
Yeah, next time, if and when we interview him, I don't know if that's something he'll be interested in.
Well, you did interview him again.
I did interview him again. I didn't like how it went. Once I started asking tough questions, he ended up running away. And, that's all on camera, by the way. So next interview, I want it to be something like this, And if that's not something he's willing to do, then that's not something he's willing to do.
But it is,
but if that's, if you asking me, that's what I want to do. Next interview, I did it in person. I did it over Zoom. The third one would be here. If not, then God bless him. But I wasn't feeling how he wrote a whole article.
Oh yeah,
he wrote an article saying, "Oh, you don't even have to get a college."
There's no doubt that was about you, right? Because he didn't name names, right?
No, he didn't. He goes, but he put the picture of the interview.
I don't know why that bothered him so much, right?
No, what bothered me was...
bothered him.
Yeah.
Why did it bother him
I think he realized he got kind of outed as to who he really is. And I think that's what really happened. When I asked him, he's saying that, this guy has, psychological issues. And I'm like, well, did you get paperwork that he has psychological? And it was kind of like he was dancing around that question. And I was just like, yo, my man, like, it's just a simple question, But yeah, I just wasn't feeling how he wrote an article to say,
I forgot about that.
No, he said something like, "Oh, you don't have to have a college degree," and I'm like, "Yo,
he wrote on the WBC page." Yeah,
I'm like, my man, I'm college educated. I got a degree in journalism. You just didn't like how the interview turned out when you was the one getting all aggressive. But again, I'm over it. It's just more so since we talking about him, I just wanted to put that out there. I wasn't feeling when he did that.
His father was real cool. His father, I mean, for whatever side deals he may not have cut with Don King and all that, his father loved fighters though. And if you ever met his father, Jose, Don Jose is what we used to call him. He would remember you. Like
he had great memory.
Yeah, 4 years. He'd be like, "Yeah, I remember you. I saw you at Victor's Cafe." Yeah, and it was like, holy shit, he ain't lying. He remember you. Yeah.
That's awesome,
Jose Suleiman had a good heart. He took care. Even guys like Juan Laporte and all of them, they will tell you the same thing. He would
You look out for them.
He would look out for people. Yeah, he would look out for people.
What they handle it.
Exactly. Whatever. Yeah, right, there's some sort of justice.
I got you. But yo, Jose,
time's up.
Yeah, man. I want to say thank you, man.
You're welcome, man.
You're nice. My first guest.
That's
first guest of this new journey I'm after.
Okay.
And I definitely want to say, 1, thank you. 2, continue the great work.
Thank you.
And this won't be your last time on here, man. Okay. I definitely got to get you back on here. Once your book is released, we'll do it again.
Hopefully December 1st.
December 1st.
Hopefully.
4-bell era.
Yeah.
All right.
4-bell era or error. ERROR.
Okay. All right. We're looking forward to it. Yep. We're looking forward to it. Anything you want to say to the fans before we...
Just keep watching the fights. Don't stream illegally because that hurts the game.
It does.
Watch the fights. Support your favorite fighters. Buy an occasional book once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Let's keep the sport going. It needs all the help it can get.
All right. Well, guys, that's episode 1 of the Broadway Joel podcast. I hope you guys truly enjoyed this as much as we did. I'll speak for myself, as much as I did.
No, it went fast.
Yeah, and I appreciate you guys watching all the way to the end. Make sure y'all hit that like and subscribe button for sure. Make sure y'all hit that like and subscribe button.
And check it every couple of weeks because sometimes that subscribe looks like it drops out sometimes.
Yeah, I'm not even worried about it.
Nah, they got to keep checking it.
I'm not worried. But I want to do something real quick. But everybody watching, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, man. Do that right now. We need as many likes and as many subscriptions on this channel as possible. So make sure y'all do that. But Jose, thank you so much, my brother.
It's a pleasure.
All right.